Hello and welcome to The Wilderness of Creativity, a platform for creatives and aspiring entrepreneurs to share their stories of survival. I'm your host, Lucy, and I'm so excited to share this creative journey with you. Working full-time and raising a small human has caused me to lose track and wander off-piste on several occasions, but I followed the signs and here we are, surviving the wild and feeling more connected and inspired than ever before. Whether you're a seasoned adventurer or just starting out, I'm here to cheer you on as you navigate this journey. Together, we will uncover practical tips and strategies for cultivating creativity, explore different ways of prioritising our creative energy when there are people to please and deadlines to meet. And we'll also discuss how we can foster a mindset that inspires connection, innovation and play in our daily lives. Tune in every month to hear how my guests find focus in a world that never stops buzzing and discover what it really means to take the road less travelled. Subscribe now to listen to The Wilderness of Creativity and remember to like, share and leave a review to show your support. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, so come and join in with our conversations. And that's it. Welcome to your next adventure. Hello, welcome to The Wilderness of Creativity and a bonus episode as part of the summer series. I am delighted to introduce my co-host for today's short but sweet episode, fellow podcaster Nadine Pittam. Nadine is an accredited and experienced counsellor who has earned a postgraduate diploma in counselling and psychotherapy from the University of Salford. With her extensive knowledge and expertise, she brings valuable insights into the field of mental health and well-being. We chatted for about 2 hours and it was very difficult to edit our full conversation. However, we felt that the roll or die segment was a really nice introduction to both myself and Nadine. So sit back, relax and enjoy our conversation. So do you want to roll the dice?
Please, yep. All right.
So roll it once and then
that's
tell me the number.
That's a number 2 and a number 5.
Okay, so the first question for you is, do you have an email newsletter?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Thank you for asking, caller. I would very much like an email newsletter because I think my B-side would really suit it. So my B-side is basically me talking into the microphone in quite an intimate and intense way for about 10, 15 minutes. And I've always thought that would translate really well to a newsletter. So it's kind of what would that look like in therapy is generally the B-side. And I think a newsletter it's quite a tender kind of exploration of one area of what comes up in the A-side. And so I think a newsletter would work really well. And I'm interested in Substack for that because they've also got a kind of very private area that's behind a paywall, which is quite a low paywall, but it creates a sort of safer community for the things that might come up in my podcast, I think. There is a brilliant Substack called Letters from Love. Have you heard of it?
I think I have heard of that, actually.
Liz Gilbert. I did mention her book in one of our early emails. Liz Gilbert wrote a book called Big Magic, which is all about creativity and how creativity lands in people. It's absolutely beautiful. She's been described as fairy dust in human form, which I think is such a beautiful way to describe a person. Oh. I know, isn't that lovely? Fairy dust in human form. Liz Gilbert. Anyway, I'm a little bit of a fan, and she does a Letters from Love Substack, which, I don't know, check that out. I think that might open a few doors.
Okay, do you want to roll the next
all right. Dice? That's a 6 and a 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do you have a podcast trailer?
I do. I do have a podcast trailer.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Tick. Have you ever wanted to go beyond the therapist's waiting room to find out what happens in counselling sessions? Join me on This Won't Fix You, where I take you into a library of interesting therapy-inspired ways to help you understand and maybe even marvel at what it is to be human, from our yearnings and motivations through to our frustrations and the patterns that block us as we muddle through life. I'm your host, Nadine Pittam, and on this show we talk about metaphors, models and images discovered or manifested through my work as an accredited psychotherapist. Each episode of This Won't Fix You has two branches. First, a 30 to 40 minute conversation between me and another qualified professional, which introduces and discusses the theory or idea in the spotlight. We call this the A side. And then the B side, where it's just you and me, and we go on a deeper exploration of that theory or idea from a more intimate, more therapeutic standpoint. While the show won't fix your problems, it will give you a better insight into how we live, think and feel. So maybe you want to hear about how kids' films like Frozen are essentially metaphors rooted in counselling theory. Or perhaps you want to make your sex life better by imagining your genitals and your brain going out to dinner together. Or maybe you just love chatting about stuff like shame or death. If that sounds like you, then go to the podcast app of your choice and subscribe to or follow the show. You can also visit our Facebook page or our website at thiswon'tfixyou.com. See you soon.
How long did it take you to do the trailer? Because it took me ages.
I mean, to research kind of what trailers were and what to put in them, that probably took about 2 hours. And then, probably about 2 hours to write it. And then, probably about 2 hours to record and edit it. So, a long time for a 1.5 minute shindig. But I suppose that's the thing. It's the first thing I ever recorded. So it is going to take longer. But yours is good. Yours fits the music. Your music just ends at the point your trailer ends. It's great.
My background is in music. I used to write a lot of music, and for me, I love the editing process, because it's all about the atmosphere, it's about the pace, it's about taking the listener on a journey. So that's kind of tapping into that. Yeah, I like things to just feel. It's about feeling for me.
I can get that because I love the way your podcast opens with that. You sort of fade it in midway through a conversation, which I think is I think that's absolutely gorgeous. I can't do that. I just can't do that. But I really like that bit of it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Because obviously, I've never done a podcast before. You've never done a podcast before, have you? So it's like you don't know what you want to do with it. You don't know how it's going to be received. All you're doing is you're following those impulses. I just think it's such a creative process. I like the feel for mine is, very much two friends talking, and you're kind of, it's like I was having my hair done yesterday. Sorry, I'm digressing. Sorry.
Do it. It's great.
I was having my hair done yesterday, and I was at the sink, and she was washing my hair, and somebody else came and sat down next to me, and they started talking about. She was a teacher, and she was saying, I've just got nothing to do. I've got 6 weeks and I've got nothing to do. And I was thinking, love, you need to listen to a podcast. I felt like saying to her, can I just recommend? And she was talking about the fact that she gets bored, but she really loves going to the cinema. And then she was talking about the films that she'd seen, and they were just having this really nice conversation. And I just love those moments in life where you catch snippets of people's lives and you just leave those little moments with little lessons or little feelings. And that, so with the podcast idea, it's just like you're going to dip into the wilderness and then you're going to leave. Yours, I get so much from. Genuinely, I've had aha moments from yours because you give so much context and theory and so many different perspectives as well to the idea, the concept, the metaphor that you're talking about. I absolutely love it. Are you going to continue with having guests? Because I know you're doing recording in blocks now, aren't you?
I'm trying to have a bit of a break at the moment, so I always want a co-host for the A side. Yeah, somebody who's either a therapist or an English teacher. I'd be interested in having an English teacher on, actually, who could talk sort of more about the metaphorical side, the language side of it, and how beautiful the metaphor is. I can handle the therapy side and have someone on who's an English teacher, so I'd be really interested. In fact, if you know any English teachers who'd like to do that from school, then mention it to them. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Next one. 5, 6.
Ooh. Why do you love podcasting?
Somebody once said to me that the biggest tragedy about dying, and I know that this might not be where you expect the conversation to go when you ask me that question, that I go straight to death, but you're talking to a therapist. And they said that the biggest tragedy of dying is that you take all your knowledge with you. And I think there's so much that I am privileged to, listening to people talk and the metaphors that we create. And there are some metaphors I haven't yet spoken about in the podcast. There's one about a swamp, which one of my clients and I have been seeing each other for 3 years. And almost every single session, we talk about the swamp. The swamp is part of the metaphor. It has extended and expanded and grown. And I think it is a rare thing. We might have had 2 or 3 sessions in the 3 years that we've known each other where we haven't spoken about the swamp. And the metaphor is really, really helpful to it's evolved with us and with our relationship. And the thought that I could die, and all of this that's in my head, all of this kind of my English teacher background and my therapeutic knowledge and the privilege of sitting with people in their vulnerable moments, that could go with me when I die is tragic. So let me give that to the world. And there are some really simple metaphors when I was on my training, literally blew me away and changed my life. Just really simple metaphors, like the metaphor of the false self, true self, which I've not yet talked about on the podcast, but it's one of the most simple theoretical models in psychotherapy, that we have a false self and a true self, and the false self is created to impress people, to get on in society, to be accepted and to perform attachments. And as long as we are feeding the false self, then we feel out of ourselves. And that's simple. It's just a Venn diagram. That simple metaphor, it changed my life. And that, I mean, what is that? That took me 30 seconds to explain. And I, could obviously talk about it in more detail and you'd get much more from it. But this stuff is really valuable to people. So let me put it out there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing that episode.
It's not been recorded yet.
Make sure you record it.
Yeah, I've got to get around to that one.
I'll be listening into that one.
The problem is all the therapists want to do the meatier stuff. They want to do all the, the deeper ideas. But actually that, it's a really simple and profound concept.
I think that's pretty meaty. I think the false self and the true self is pretty meaty, to be honest.
I think we forget as therapists that these really low-hanging fruit that are just, it blew me away. Why wouldn't it blow everybody else away?
I'm just writing that down.
Google it. Have a little look.
I'm fascinated by the way that you think and your perspective on things. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to roll again?
Roll again. 1 and 4. Is this question 4 or question 5?
1, 2, 3. Question 4. Advice you'd give to new podcasters?
I am one of those. I don't even know if I've got any advice. That's funny, isn't it? Because I am a new podcaster. I feel like I'm searching for advice. I can't give it yet. And also I have a repulsion for advice. That's not what my job is. I can't ask for advice because that's mine. What would I give to young podcasters? Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Just do something. Just put the microphone in front of your face. Press record and see, because what's inside my little pea brain is not inside anybody else's little pea brain. And so, and you never know what sparks are going to come from the other person as well. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That's the magic. So follow that, put the microphone on and be open to what the other person brings to the conversation. I definitely want to ask that question back at you. What would you say?
If you feel like there is something that you want to say, then take up that space. You don't ever know where something's going to take you. You don't ever know where, those doors will open. And I think since starting the Wilderness, I have met so many incredible people. And I think, we live in such isolation, I think, in our own heads, in our own worlds, in our own communities. And I think for me, it's about opening yourself up and speaking to the world. That's such an exciting thing. You belong to the wilderness, and the wilderness is within you, and it's trying to find a marrying of those things.
Yeah, and don't shy away from that.
So, buy a cheap ass microphone. Yeah. And buy a laptop, because you'll definitely need one. Don't worry about anything else. You don't need to have a fancy space. You can do it you can start a podcast on your kitchen table, when the kids have gone to bed. So yeah, just do it.
No, I like that, taking up space. I hear that. That we don't often value what we have in our heads because we're familiar with it, and so we don't know we don't know what energy and spark we bring. Yeah, so let it run. One more.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So last question. Yep.
Number 5 and number 2.
Yep. So what sound annoys you most?
In podcasting world or generally?
Just generally, I think.
Oh my God, the sound of people eating. It's that squirming. Just, oh my God, and that on a microphone. I bet that sounds really weird for all of you folks listening. Sorry about that. But yeah, I feel like I need to get really close to the microphone and do that just to squirm everybody out.
Do it.
Can't bear that sound. And actually, you reckon?
Yeah,
apparently there's a whole genre, isn't there, of people who like to listen to that. That's just gross, isn't it? I mean, that's just horrible. And to picture some sort of half-masticated food floating around, no, that's not for me. But if I'm honest, any loud noise just goes right through me and makes me like vibrate, which is weird. That was in school because noise just comes when you're walking down the corridor.
Yeah,
noise just comes out of nowhere. And it jars me. Yeah, I'm not good with any noise particularly. I've got quite sensitive little ears.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I was talking to a friend of mine, Anthony. I interviewed him on a podcast episode, and he's just retired. He spent 35 years in education, and I said, do you miss being in the classroom? And he said, Lucy, listen to that. There is I can't hear a thing. He said, I am in my studio. I am painting, but listen to that. Nothing. Silence. I do not miss being in the classroom. Because when people come into my studio, there is a cacophony of sound. You've got children like arguing over what idea they want to go with. You've got people sort of rehearsing dialogue. You've got them running around with swords. I mean, it looks chaotic. But for me, I'm like, I'm kind of used to it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be used to it forever. Because you get some staff members coming in, it's so loud. I'm like, we're creating, darling. We're creating. This is what it is.
I was going to say, that's the expression. Let it be. I can understand that.
Don't silence them. Hello, Lucy here. I'd love for you to help spread the word. There are several ways that you can do this. 1, you can subscribe to the podcast on your favourite platform, which will ensure that you never miss an episode. 2, you could share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues who might be inspired by the stories that we're sharing. 3, your reviews and ratings are incredibly important. They help new listeners discover the podcast and they give me valuable feedback on how I can improve. So, please take a moment to leave a review. Your support is what makes this possible. I'm on a mission to inspire, motivate and empower fellow creatives to take the road less travelled, and I am so grateful to have you along on this journey with me. Until next time, stay wild.